Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Cichlid Bros Podcast. My name is Troy Holler and I'm here with my brother,
Alec.
And today we are launching the Cichlid Bros Podcast. We are super excited to share this with you, so let's dive right in.
Episode 1.
So this is episode 1 of the Cichlid Bros Podcast. Today's topic is going to be, what is better, American cichlids or African cichlids? And really excited to dive into that. But first, just a little bit about this podcast. Like I said, this was episode 1, but
really episode 2.
We actually just filmed the whole episode and had audio issues, so we are redoing it. Hopefully it is so good because we have practiced one whole time.
Classic beginner mistake.
Oh, it was the pit of my stomach.
We did so good.
So what can you expect with the Cichlid Bros podcast? Well, we are going to aim for 1 podcast per month. It might increase to 2 as we get our feet under us. It will usually be me hosting, and then I will have Alec with me as much as possible. Quinn will make appearances. We'll get him to do some work and finally join us. We will also definitely be having some cool guests. So anything from awesome fish tubers that you may know to other hobbyists that have a ton of great knowledge and experience that we are very excited to share on this platform. We will also do like an update section, like things that are coming right before we get into the topic of the video, like today. And then we will finish the episode with a couple questions that we pull from different videos. And if you ever have comments or topic ideas, leave those down in the comments because we will be using those throughout this podcast.
I think it's important to note that our regular programming won't change. Our videos are going to keep coming. Our verticals are going to keep coming in normal schedule.
Absolutely. So we post like 1 or 2 vertical videos, like shorts, every day, and that won't stop. We post 1 to 2 long form edited videos per week. That will continue as always. And this will just be added on. It will be, the video format will be on YouTube, and we will add some B-roll and visuals occasionally when it makes sense or it's needed. But we will also be posting on all audio platforms. So if you go follow us on those platforms, even rate us, we would really appreciate that. So
I'm looking forward to it because this gives us the opportunity to go a little bit more back and forth than we normally do, even with our long form videos. We try to be a little more lecture informational, but now we can kind of go back and forth and just have a conversation where we have these conversations all the time anyway. We're like, we might as well put a camera in front of us and, share the conversation with everybody else. So
absolutely. Like sometimes we are always talking fish in our group chat, but even that, I'm like, thinking fish all the time, and I have so many thoughts and ideas. This will help us just have an area, a space to kind of go deeper.
It's an outlet for us. It's why we created Cichlid Bros.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So very excited for this. And the topic today is one that I think is perfect for the first episode, which is
the age-old debate.
Yeah. What is better, South or Central American cichlids or African cichlids? And I think we have to clarify that African cichlids in the past used to be Lake Malawi African cichlids, which are mbuna, peacocks, and haps. However, there is Lake Tanganyika, which is a super diverse population of fish. We're including that today, as well as the West African and the river systems of Africa, which include like the Jewel and the Crebensis. That's included here, as well as the Malagasy from Madagascar.
There you go.
The starry night cichlids and things like that. So those are the Africans. I think in our history, you've actually migrated towards Africans.
Yeah, I've kind of become the African cichlid guy, and you've kind of leaned into South American and Quinn more to the Central Americans, and that was not planned. It was just how it kind of worked out. We all kind of developed our own taste in different paths, and that's where we ended up.
Absolutely. And even with that, there are differences. Like you might be African cichlid focused, but you still have a huge Central American tank with a jaguar and stuff. So there are positives, pros and cons to all of them. And we're going to break this down into kind of categories, I think, starting with coloration. So I think that's the biggest first thing that people notice. It's the first impression of the fish. And I think the African cichlids actually take this one. What do you think?
I think that's the common school of thought, and that's what caught my eye when I really first started getting into cichlids. We've always been fish keepers, but didn't have a tank big enough to keep cichlids, and I would find myself getting into the hobby, going to Petco like every day, just looking at the fish. And what really caught my eye was the mbuna, because the pet store sells fish of a really small size, and the mbuna have color right away. So those yellow lads, the DeMason and I'm just like, whoa, so like they have really bright pops of color. But then you have like the Oscars, who are readily available at Petco and stuff as well, are really awesome, colored up at a young age as well. So
and their big eyes, even at a young age, they're like, I mean, you definitely like see that personality right away, which we'll get to. But for coloration, I think the mbuna, they just have such bright colors.
Yeah, the brightness.
Especially the females and males, and at a young age for the mbuna.
Yeah.
Whereas the peacocks and haps, the females are going to be drab, no color.
Yeah.
But the males for peacocks are always really nicely colored. I feel like some of the brightest, best colored. And then the haps, even the males, they take a long time to reach their coloration.
It's a process, and it's a process for some mbuna, all male peacocks, all male haps.
Take a while for them to reach that color.
Yeah, so you got to be patient, but it's a heck of a payoff when you get there.
Yeah, so I think that's the first thing you notice, that and the activity level with African cichlids, especially the Lake Malawis. But then there's Lake Tanganyikans, and I wouldn't say that's like the most colorful bunch of fish, although the Leolupi are bright yellow. The Frontosa, you can get some really great bluish colors on them, some dark blues.
I always say I think Lake Tanganyika is the closest thing we can get to saltwater with a freshwater tank.
Because there's such unique shapes and diversity.
Yeah.
I think it's the most diverse lake for sure. You can get like the shell dwellers. They don't have much color though, so that's not helping the argument for coloration.
But in combination with other Lake Tanganyikans, it's just like, what a great like unique add.
Yep. Lake Victoria, not a ton of fish in the hobby, but they're very great colored fish there. They're more like the Lake Malawi cichlids.
Yeah, if you can find Lake Victorians online, I think they're really cool. Maybe less diverse colors. It's more like red and yellow for most of them. And it does take them a little bit to color up sometimes, but I'd love to have a Lake Victorian tank.
Yeah, and then the West African or river dwelling cichlids, the jewel is bright red with blue spots and stuff. That looks great. The crebensis is pretty awesome with the purplish color that you don't get in a lot of fish. And then I love the Starry Night, even though it's not like brightly colored because it's black with white spots, but I think the pattern and coloration is very nice even if it's not bright.
I actually was going to say, it's kind of weird when we're talking about color. I think one of my favorite colors in African cichlids is the blackness. Like, because it's always contrasting with something like my Masobo Deep Magunga, the males, when they're colored up, it's black with like electric blue. The Johanni, same thing. And like, what a great combination that you really don't see in the New World cichlids.
Yeah, and you also mentioned to me in the first recording of this podcast that your wife actually loves the color of your Jaguar and your Central Americans, even though they're not, like the Jaguar has an incredible pattern and a really nice goldish yellow color and some even accents in its fins, but it's not the bright pop that you get from like an mbuna.
You're not going to get like those rainbow type colors as much in the Central and South Americans. But yeah, I love like using my wife as like her perspective as more of a casual fish hobbyist. Like I told her about this podcast, like we'll talk about who has like better colors. She's like, oh, Central Americans for sure. I'm like, really? Because that's like, most people would, even the biggest fans of American cichlids would say Africans got you beat on the color, but it's a different perspective. Like they do have some pretty cool color and they might not have that coloring up process that the Africans have. And they have like cool designs and they're just so unique.
Yeah. And on the South and Central side, I mean, we just talked about the Jaguar, which is one of our best fish for sure. Some of our favorite, I mean, the electric blue Acara is bright blue. Like you can find some specifics that are amazing color. It may not be as solidly colored or as bright, but I mean, even like the Salvini is like bright yellow with red and blue, like teal throughout its body. That's awesome.
And the Salvini, the Acara, like they'll be really colored up really young.
Yep, the electric blue Acara is one of those for sure. And then the South American cichlids has discus, which can be the most colorful of all,
Yeah.
depending on the variant and the type you get. So we're going to get to the variety as well in this as one of our categories, but South Americans and Central Americans has so many different types that you can always find some that are the colored up, like best colored.
I think what we'll see in this kind of as we go through different topics is like, yeah, you might think like Africans have them beat in this category or the other way around, but there's another perspective where it's like, well, actually, you could argue the other side too. Like, so there's definitely pros and cons of both.
Yeah, especially when you're talking Africans and you're including Tanganyika and the others, it makes it a little more of a gray area.
Yeah.
We're doing our best though. So the next step, do you want to talk about variety next?
Yeah, I think it's a good lead in. Like we're talking about the variety of the colors. Yeah. There's also different variety of sizes and shapes and things like that.
Yeah, so I think South and Central Americans win this because you get the big guys like the Oscar, you can have the chocolate cichlid, the Severum, you can get the Geophagus, sand sifting behavior are some of my favorites, electric blue acara. You can go with the dwarf cichlids too. There's so many great dwarf cichlids that I've actually gravitated towards recently because you can have awesome little setups and still get the personality and variety and all that. Even the color in some cases, like the dwarf flag cichlid, the Bolivian ram, German ram, the checkerboard cichlid, the golden eye cichlid. Amazing, and we'll talk about the aquascapes later. Some of these can go in like a really nice planted tank or a community tank even. So you get such a variety of what you can do. And that's not even mentioning the discus, which are like the floating pancakes. And then you got the angelfish, the tall-bodied with the long fins, like the pike cichlid, which is super long, like a torpedo. Like the shapes, sizes, variety, I don't think can be beat when you group Central and South Americans.
I mean, yeah, no debate there. It's pretty much second to none. I will say, not that Africans have Americans beat in that regard, but once you really zoom in with Africans, you find the uniqueness of every fish. Like, I love predator haps, and you might look at my predator hat tank and be like, oh, they look very similar. But when you really look at them, you got the Malawi trout that's really long and thin. You got the Buccochromis rhodesii yellow that's like really fat. You got the really narrow eye biter, and a lot of their shapes and sizes correspond to like their behaviors and their hunting behaviors in the wild and things like that. And those backstories are really cool when you contextualize, like why they are what they are in nature. Sure.
And I think in talking about variety, we have to talk about Lake Tanganyika because it is, like I said, maybe the most diverse group because you got the big, slow, peaceful Frontosa. You have the rock dwellers, which are like the Julidochromis or the Leolupi. You have the Calvis and Capressiceps, which has a really unique head and like looks prehistoric even. Yeah. And they are like predating on the rock dwelling fish or like their fry. Then you have the shell dwellers, multiple species of that. You have the open water swimmers like the Parasiprochromis and the Cyprochromis, which are the sardine cichlids. They're actually one of like the true schooling fish of cichlids, which is really cool.
It's pretty rare.
Really unique breeding behaviors and things like that. You have the open water or open sand dwelling as well with the Xenotilapia. So Lake Tanganyika almost has all these like subcategories of like behaviors and stuff.
Exactly. Like once you peel back the layers, like Lake Tanganyika is not just Frontosa.
Yep. The feather fins are incredible. I definitely want to set up a tank of them in the future.
And I feel like we kind of have leaned into those unique fish. Like I'd never had heard of the golden eye cichlid, and I love your golden eye cichlids. Like the smaller cichlids in Central and South America are really cool, and like the more you learn about those, like the more you appreciate cichlids.
Yep. So that's kind of the variety I think leans towards Central and South American in this case. We're about 1-to-1 tied up here.
Yeah.
Activity level, real quick on this one. I think African cichlids win this, especially because you have Lake Malawi.
Yeah, it's different activity. Like my wife, again, using her as a reference, she feels a little like stressed out watching African cichlid tanks because they're darting around everywhere. They're not scared of anything. They don't hide. Whereas my Central American tank, like they just kind of glide and float, and it just seems more peaceful. They might be actually meaner or bigger bullies or more territorial than Africans are in a lot of regards, but the aggression look of an African cichlid tank is like a piranha just going crazy on a fish, whereas it's more like slowly going back and forth in a Central American. So like it's just kind of your personal preference. Like I love the fast activity and a lot of movement of the African cichlid tank. Like I like my Mbuna tank looking like a moving painting. You know, I love that about it. Whereas some people see it more stressful.
Yep. And yeah, it's the preference that you have, because you could say it's very calming to watch that activity.
It is to me.
But some people would be like, I would like slow gliding fish that would be more tranquil and like calm. Definitely you can get that with like angelfish and discus, slowly swimming, severums, things like that sometimes. But then you could have issues with some of those bigger bruisers like your jaguar again, the Vieja, that, you know, might be slower swimming for the majority of the time, but then the aggression can come out of nowhere and then it's all of a sudden like, oh boy, chaos. And that can be really stressful. So
I'll be like down here all night watching this fish tank, and I'll come in the next morning and it's like, where do these nip fins come from? Like it just comes out of nowhere real quick.
Yeah, so I think the activity level, if you like the majority of movement and chaotic stuff, then African cichlids take it. But I think this leans into one of the biggest categories, personality.
Yeah.
So the African cichlids, especially Lake Malawi, will just be chaotic, swimming around like nonstop. The personality might be lacking a bit.
Yeah.
Like you get the personality of them coming up and going crazy for food.
They're not afraid of you at all.
And that is awesome. But the overall, like, what you think they are thinking, like the intelligence.
There doesn't seem to be a lot going on up there.
Yeah, it's just like crazy, like breed or eat, like go nuts. Whereas something like the Oscar is perfect for this category because you can really like see it thinking. It like truly gets to know you. It's not only about food. They have moods. They pout in the corner when you do a water change. Like I turn on my light and he like freaks out and like kicks up sand.
It's like, what, do you want to fight?
Yeah. So I feel like there are a lot of bigger cichlids, especially like your jaguar, like the red devil, the parachroma species like my dovi. They really are thinking, and whether that's them always thinking about food or breeding or just truly like having moods, you can feel it. And I think there's more of those that, change coloration and stuff too based on their mood. Like the Jack Dempsey is a great example of that, where if they're fired up, it doesn't have to just be breeding. It could be like comfort in the tank. Like they look amazing. And with your Mbuna, I mean, they're likely like a yellow lab's going to look like a yellow lab no matter what. So there's a little bit of that going for the Central. I would say because of that, the Central and South Americans take this.
Yeah.
There are exceptions, I think, in Africa, though. Like the Starry Night is one that is pretty intelligent seeming. The Frontosa, too, even though they're just kind of like slow swimming, tranquil, like calm fish.
And I think when we both think of personality and stuff, we think of like the wet pet type of fish. And the Africans are a little bit more like a community, like probably a community of their own. Like predator haps go with predator haps, and Mbuna go with Mbuna, but they like to be amongst each other. Whereas like my jaguar, he seems very focused on me all the time. It's funny. I used to feed them like floating pellets, and he loved it, and he would like catch it out of my mouth. And then now I've been feeding him like sinking pellets. I swear he's mad at me for it. Like I don't drop it into his mouth anymore, and it just sinks, and he like pouts. He's like, no, I'm waiting until you put it into my mouth. So it's funny behavior. And then like Quinn's yellow jacket and Jack Dempsey right next to each other, it's like they're arguing back and forth, like behind their own take glass. Like if this glass wasn't here, I'd beat you up. It looks like they're having a conversation.
Yeah, we might be projecting our own human emotions onto these
Definitely.
fish, but it does, I think it truly does have a personality, like some of these bigger fish especially. They do just seem to have more going on, and I think that is a cool part, especially of the big South and Central Americans. What category should we go to next? Should we do...
I think the variety of like tank sizes.
Yeah, so that's a great one. So for Lake Malawi cichlids, what would you say the minimum tank size is going to be for these?
Yeah, it's minimum you might be able to get away with a 40 breeder with some young and Mbuna for a little bit, but you're going to end up upgrading because...
Or maybe like the Solosai, which stays smaller for Mbuna.
Right.
But the majority of Mbuna, what, 55?
55 would be the bare minimum for me. And then even then, you're going to probably want to upgrade to a 75 because it has a better footprint. There's more on the ground for territories and things like that. So, you know, we can say 55, but, you know, if you're really into this hobby like we are, you're going to not look for the bare minimum. You're going to want to give like an ideal size.
And I would say for the peacocks, like they need open water swimming space, and a lot of it, like a 75 gallon is really like what I would say a minimum is for them. Like you could do a breeding group in like a 55, but I think it's too small for a typical peacock tank.
Yeah.
Better off obviously with like a 90 gallon or larger. And then what would you say? I mean, haps, there's common haps and predatory haps in a lot of shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
So I would say at least a 6 foot tank for
the majority. That's the big deal because they like to go back and forth. Yeah. So the 6 foot is very important. You know, like 125 is good, but a 120 might not be good. Even though it's only a 5 gallon difference, 120 is 4 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. So there's not enough back and forth for their open water swimming. So like, can you get away with it, especially with peacocks? Yeah. But again, the ideal size is longer for the open water swimming.
Yep. And we also like think about a first-time hobbyist that's trying to get into African cichlids. Like a 55-gallon tank would seem huge.
Yeah, I got a 55 gallon and I'm like, I'll never need a bigger tank. And then here we are thousands of gallons later.
Yeah, so the entry level to Lake Malawi cichlids is harder to get into because of the tank sizes and the aggression, which we'll talk about. But on the other end, you could do like Tanganyika or like Jules or Crebensis or African butterfly cichlids that are smaller. So if you know where to look and what species to get, you can get away with smaller tank sizes for some of those specifics. Like the smallest cichlid in the world, the shell dweller, you could get away with a colony in a 20 gallon.
Yeah, the bummer is a lot of times that we're talking about beginners getting a small tank, and the beginners probably aren't going to understand what a shell dweller is.
Yep. It might take a little bit of time for them to get into the hobby and know some of the additional species. When it comes to tank sizes for Central and South Americans, it's all over the place. Because in general, I would say like a 75 gallon or larger for most species, because you're going to be thinking of those mid-sized to larger cichlids. But there are so many dwarf cichlids that we already kind of mentioned, and a lot of those can be kept in even like 40 gallon, 29 gallon, like you can do Bolivian rams or checkerboard cichlids, and you can start to find some species that could really do well and give you a lot of the personality and the variety that we talked about in a smaller tank. So I would say there's more options of that with the Central and South Americans for the smaller tanks to mid-sized tanks to find a way. You could even do like convicts or a firemouth in like a 40 gallon. You know, but then you get up there into like the 55, 75s, you start looking at geo species, maybe Severums, electric blue acara, the mid-sized guys.
Yep.
And then there are absolutely huge tank busters. Like the Jaguar is close to that, but the Dovai, I have a 180 gallon aquarium by himself, and that's not going to be big enough for him long term.
Yeah.
So you can get crazy big tanks for some of these guys. If I was going to put that Dovai with tank mates, I would think I would need a pond.
Yep.
And I don't think many people are putting Lake Malawi cichlids in a pond. You know, like you kind of max out a tank size around like 180 to 220 gallon, and that's like totally sufficient for any Lake Malawis.
In the hobby, you're probably not seeing Malawi or any African cichlids for that matter bigger than 15, 16 inches, and that's like a massive specimen, whereas you can get like a 2 foot or larger Central American, South American sometimes. So that's why I think you see the ponds. So I feel like the Central and South Americans win on the, if you want to get like a massive pond or a tiny apistogramma tank. Like they kind of win both of those. Whereas, you know, I think every fish looks better with a bigger tank. Like I think Predator House would look amazing in a 600 gallon tank. You just usually don't see it.
Yeah, it's like you see them at public aquariums sometimes. I mean, good ones will have like Malawi setups. They're always awesome. But once you start getting like a bigger tank, like a 300 or bigger, it seems like everyone starts gravitating towards like Central and South Americans along with maybe oddballs, catfish, things like that.
And with that, you're able to get like dovies mixing with like a peacock bass or something that, whereas a lot of times dovie has to be by itself in a typical fish tank.
For sure. So next category, aggression. So
speaking of the dovie,
yeah, some people are sick and they just love the aggression. It gets them going,
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to know my dovie is like super aggressive, but I don't want to deal with him like fighting fish.
Yeah.
Like, but I would say like the biggest bruisers in aggression are going to come from the big Central Americans, like the red devil, the South American, the umbi, things like that, because they're also big. But African cichlids are just relentless.
Exactly. That's a great word for it. Like I said, they're like piranha. When they pick on one fish, it's like they're so fast moving, they get that fish so stressed out, and then they sense weakness, and then it's just like it gets over pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I think Lake Malawi, the aggression being like that relentless, nonstop fighting, you kind of have to overstock most of those tanks. So I feel like that's maybe a negative in my opinion.
And it could be viewed as a positive. Like my 75-gallon Mbuna tank, I can fit a lot of fish in there. I can fit like 25 fish because, it'll be more work, more maintenance because they're going to produce more waste. But, you get more bang for your buck as far as fish and a lot of movement and stuff like that to dissipate the aggression. Whereas my Central American tank, 220 gallons, I could only really fit 4 in there by the time I got the aggression leveled out.
Yep, and I think the other African cichlids like Lake Tanganyika, much more peaceful options there.
Yeah.
So you do have a variety again because of Tanganyika. Lake Victoria, they're known to be very feisty and aggressive. The West African cichlids like Jules are known to be very aggressive sometimes. 5-star generals, things like that. Crebensis known to be pretty peaceful though. So it's like you got all the mix and matches in Africa when you look outside of Lake Malawi. For Central and South Americans, like I mentioned, they have like the notorious big bruisers, Black Nasty, the Midas, Red Devil, all those, Texas cichlids. There are a lot more like big aggressive ones, but then there's also a ton of peaceful ones. A ton of small dwarf cichlids. Again, the discus and angelfish are known to be a little more peaceful than some of the others, relatively. So yeah, I think it's hit or miss, pros and cons of both. What else? What other category do we need here?
I think maybe tank mates.
Yes,
is an interesting one.
For sure. So I think there are way more options on the South and Central American side, not only with different cichlids that you can keep together, but community fish.
Yeah.
So the dwarf cichlids, a lot of them can go with tetras, barbs, everything. And then you can definitely find some of those that could go in like a planted tank as well in a community. Whereas like Lake Malawi cichlids are super difficult to find tank mates.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend keeping Lake Malawi cichlids with their own kind. Like, you can have a lot of Mbuna, so that's a positive for tank mates, but like they should probably only be with Mbuna. Yeah. Peacocks, I like them by themselves. A lot of people do a peacock and hap setup, but I find that peacocks are actually more aggressive than the haps are. The haps are bigger predators. So like if you do a small peacock with a big predator hap, the peacock can get predated on.
It's funny that's your experience too, because like in my peacock hap tank, my red-shouldered peacock was the most aggressive in the tank.
Yeah.
Even though my Taiwan reef and other big haps were bigger.
Yeah. That's what, like, my first predator hap tank, I just threw everything in there. I wanted to just try it as much as I could. So I did a lot of common haps with predator haps, and it turned out the common haps, which are a lot more like peacocks, I think, than predator haps in behavior, they were the more aggressive ones, always picking on my favorite predator haps. So now I'm doing a predator hap where I'm like, all right, I'm going to really control the stock list this time. I'm not going to get any new shiny new fish that I see online anymore.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite tank setups ever, I would love to do it. The only problem is I want to do it in a big tank and I don't have the capacity to create a lot of RODI water to get the parameters perfect, is discus with like a huge school of cardinal tetras. Mm-hmm. That's just like, you can't beat it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just saw a discus tank that was heavily planted with a big plant wall and cardinal tetras, and it's like, it can't be beat. It's awesome. I mean, it's difficult to maintain them, and some of them can
And
be
they're high
delicate.
heat too, so like rams could go with them too. Like,
German blue rams, yeah.
oh, I love German blue rams. Yeah, that trio would be amazing.
And my experience with discus is also a challenge because I definitely wanted them in a planted tank, but the elevated temperatures can be hard on plants, and then the plants die back, and then it's increasing your nitrate load. So it's like there's a lot to get right, I think, with discus. But yeah, going back to tank mates for like Lake Malawi, we did like a top 5 video, and it was hard to find 5 top. Like catfish like Synodontis or some plecos, but even plecos can be harassed by mbuna. Clown loaches, I don't know, stuff like that. But for Central and South Americans, there's way more options in general. A lot of like fast moving tetras and barbs can even go with some of them. Like Denison barbs are a great tank mate to a lot of South American cichlids.
Quinn has those giant Danios that have just thrived in his kind of medium-sized Central American tank.
Yeah, they like dart around the top of the tank, and the Jack Dempsey and Green Terror and things like that.
They just look at them and shake their head.
Even brings them out of their territories a bit as ditherfish. But if you put those same giant Danios in your Mbuna tank, I don't think they'll last very long, even though they're fast swimmers.
Yeah. And I think that's another, going back to Quinn's Central American tank, like that's another feather in the cap of the Americans with tank mates, because like we've had great luck with convicts with Jack Dempsey's together and Salvinis with them in that group, Green Terrors, and it's been like multiple. So it's not just like one individual good specimen. Like it's been pretty peaceful in multiple setups. So.
Agreed. Yeah, so I think there's 2 last categories here. Aquascaping, and then just overall our favorite species. So aquascaping, I think, again goes towards the Central and South Americans because you can do a lot more, and there are some that can go with plants, like there are some that can't, like the Parachromis or the Vieja would shred up any plants and stuff, but you have a nice scape in there with rocks and driftwood still.
Yeah.
For Lake Malawi, like some of them, like your tank behind me is barren.
It looks like the bottom of the ocean, like where the Titanic is. Like there's nothing there. It just has to be your preference. Like I always say, like I want my fish to be the eye catcher of my tank, and some people don't feel that way.
Yeah, and in like most Mbuna tanks, it's just a pile of rocks.
Yeah, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I do like the Mbuna tank. It is very nice. I do wish you could add like a pop of green color in there with plants, but they would shred them up. Like it is basically their diet is plants.
Exactly.
So yeah, Lake Malawi, aquascaping, very, very low on the list.
Yep.
Lake Tanganyika a little bit better. Like I've seen some with like big boulders or like jagged rocks that really do a good job, but even that's a little bit barren.
Yep.
And a lot of the species of that could even eat some of your plants too.
And we should also say we're a big fan of like naturalistic setups where it mimics their natural habitat, and Lake Malawi is just rocks. Like there's no plants, there's no driftwood. It's just what it is.
And on the south and central side, again, a lot of the dwarf cichlid species can go in like communities in a planted tank.
Yeah.
I love like the dwarf flag cichlid, the Bolivian ram, checkerboards, golden eyes, apistogramma species. There's so many apistos. I can't believe we haven't really talked about them in the variety. There's like, 30 different solid species of apistos. So
crazy color variations.
All of those can go in a nice aquascape tank. You could even do like Electropluocara, discus, angelfish. A lot of the Central Americans, even the mid-size, will eat plants. So that could be hard. But I think in general, you can find a lot that could be in an aquascape tank.
Again, variety wins for Central and South Americans because, there's so many different kinds that you can do different types of substrates, whether it's rock or sand or dirt because it's a planted tank, or you want to do plants, you want to do driftwood, you want to do rocks, you can do it all.
Yep.
You could even do a non-natural tank. A lot of people use those flower pots, We did the tank setup for Billy Donovan, the Bulls head coach, he reached out to us because he saw our videos and he's like, this took me back to my childhood where I used to, create little territories for my convicts and little caves for them to hide in. And he just loved it. And that's what got him into the hobby. And that's what brought him back to the hobby. So just so many variations you can do.
Absolutely. So that is the aquascaping leans again towards the Americans. Last category, before we answer a couple comments from the viewers, favorite species. So, what is your favorite cichlid?
All right, I'm gonna go favorite American and favorite African. So, my favorite fish overall is African. My predator hap, Malawi hawk. I started out with Mbuna, and then I just was watching video after video, researching it and stuff, and I come across predator haps and Malawi hawks, and their look and their behavior was just like, whoa! It just blew me away. How their scientific name is the Aristochromis christii, because they have like a aristocratic mustache look, because there's folds in their mouth for them to extend and eat a bigger fish. And I'm like, that's just nuts. And then I hear they're called the Malawi hawk. Their common name is also for a reason, because they swim over the top of their fish that they're predating, and they turn down like hawks do to see beneath them to dive bomb down on the fish they're going after. So I'm like, this is just the coolest. And I've actually seen this behavior in the tank. They're silly. He's not even hunting anything, but you can just see their instincts coming out, and I just love their behavior. Now, I would say
it's a cool name, and both its scientific and common names are for a reason, like you said, and their Malawi hawk is just one of the cooler names.
Oh, I love the hawk, yeah. And the colors are awesome too, and the size. But
what's your favorite American?
Favorite American, that's a tough one. I would say right now would have to be the jaguar, just because I mean,
you say jaguar.
Jaguar.
We always get comments because you say jaguar.
Hey, I have a southern accent, all right? Get over it.
It's jaguar.
Jaguar.
I mean, your jaguar is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier with the specimen I got. I love the black nasty too, so shout out Nino, Six Psych, our buddy.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
I think I'll do the same. Favorite African cichlid at the moment, probably one of the peacocks, like a lemon jake or the sunshine peacock. I even like the Nagara flametail a lot. For an American cichlid, this is the category that really stands apart for me, because it has probably my favorite 5 types of cichlids.
Yeah.
The Oscar.
Yeah. The easy answer.
Yeah. The Severum, chocolate cichlid. All the Geophagus, like there's so many.
You seem like a big Geophagus guy to me. Like,
massive.
I've never seen somebody love them as much as you do. So.
Yeah, I mean, and then the electric Lucara is another one, South American. But yeah, the Geophagus, they have so many great species that like you could just be keeping geo species and always have a new one to keep.
Ton of variety there.
And they are a challenge because it takes a lot of patience, and they have to grow into their coloration.
That does take a while.
And then a lot of them get really awesome fin extensions, and like they are, just incredible once they're adults. The Geophagus finni, my favorite. Seeing a full-grown Altafrons is amazing. The Wine Milleri, like I love the Gymno Geophagus, like the cold water version of
I was surprised how much I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many, and I'm not even talking about like the Dovi or the Parachromis. It's hard, like that one's climbed the ranks, just me having them for a little over a year. So I think there's just so much on the central and south side that I prefer.
Yeah.
That's why, along with the other categories we talked about, that's why Americans would be my favorite.
I would say one more feather in the cap for Africans is more fish in a tank. Just in general, I think a lot of people appreciate that, and that's a big thing for me. And then I thought of another question, a little bonus question. See if you can make some people mad here. What do you think? Do you have a most overrated cichlid, or cichlid you dislike the most?
Oh.
Put you on the spot here. We didn't talk about this.
That's a great question. Because I just love so many different types of cichlids.
I've never heard you say anything bad about any fish, so I'm trying to make you do it here.
I mean, I would maybe say...
Say it.
The Mbuna.
Oh my God! You hater. You pissed me off. You're supposed to make them mad.
No, and they're not even overrated. I mean, I just don't prefer them as much.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because like they're popular because they're readily available, so there's a lot more Mbuna tanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see how they're a little overrated. I'm gonna say mine, make you mad. The blue Acara.
Why? You don't like the bright blue color?
I like them. I just think they're overrated.
All right.
They're like
Well,
sissies.
That's the good thing about the hobby. You get preferences and opinions about whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right.
Had to get this debate heated, you know.
Anything else about American versus Africans before we get to the comments?
Should we total our categories? Do we keep track of like the tally marks? It seems like Central won like in a 3-2 count or something.
Yeah, something like barely winning, I think. And look, like,
I think we should do a poll in the comments too. They should put which one they like,
Yeah.
Central or African.
yeah, let's see in the comments, definitely down below, along with any topics you would like to hear for future pods. Definitely the common names, scientific names that we just talked about,
Yeah.
will definitely be an episode for me because I want to go on a
yeah.
rant about this.
Ooh, we said green terror.
Yeah.
So we're probably gonna upset some people today.
Yeah, people will be like, no, it's not a green terror, it's
I
a gold
apologize.
psalm. It's not a true green terror.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, it's the ribolatus. Like, that's the scientific name.
Shore doesn't get mad very often, but you'll get them going on that.
And lately, it's been like the starry night. Like, I call it a starry night, and they're like, oh, it's a beautiful pollinized cichlid, or oh, it's a great looking bleakeri.
Yeah.
It's like, look, our names are just going all over the place. Even the scientific names sometimes get reclassified and changed.
Yep.
And then the common names get thrown out there. It's like, look, we're all just trying to say the right. Yeah, okay, so you can see the rant.
You get what we're trying to say.
All right, so here are just a couple of quick questions to end the episode that we're going to do each podcast. So the first one here is from Gabby Babel. I would love to see a video talking about good bottom-dwelling cleanup crews for South American cichlid tanks.
That would be a good video idea, and I would leave that to you. You're the pleco guy.
Yeah, well, I've had bristlenose plecos breed in my tanks recently, and then I just started moving them to all my tanks, and I just love them. As long as you get like an adult bristlenose pleco, you can put them in most tanks from a South American cichlid perspective. I think most like catfish, Synodontis cats, like even though they're not American cichlid or American fish, you could definitely do that. I wouldn't do shrimp, but
No.
yeah, a lot of different plecos I think would be great. If you do some of the dwarf cichlids or like angelfish, discus, you could add Corydoras.
That's a good
I
idea.
think that's like the best cleanup crew for the bottom and the substrate.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Philly D215. I need some fish compatible with Jack Dempsey cichlids.
There we go. We already talked about it today. The Quins with the green terror or gold psalm.
Yep.
There you go. Did I say that right? We've had a lot of success with them, Salvini, convicts, firemouths. Basically the Nicaraguans.
The rainbow cichlid.
Yep. So we're talking about basically the medium-sized American cichlids. All tend to go well together. We've had a lot of success.
Yeah, and they can sometimes go with like the bigger Central Americans, like the Vieja, the Parachromis sometimes, Red Devil type stuff sometimes, but those guys are bigger and could be more aggressive than your Jack Dempsey.
Yeah, you got to watch out for it.
Yeah, so those are some ideas. Also, you could do silver dollars, tinfoil bars if you have a
Ditherfish
big
for
tank,
sure.
like filament, mascara barbs, maybe denizen barbs, some fast-moving schooling fish, as long as they're not too small, sometimes could be okay. We mentioned the giant Danio.
Oh, yeah.
So those are some options. But yeah, definitely if you have any comments or questions you'd like us to answer your comment in a future podcast, leave those down in the comment section. But yeah, I think that's the wrap to our second recording of this podcast.
I think it was more fun than the first time. So.
Yeah, we were actually better, I think, in the second time.
Yeah, second time's a charm.
All right, well, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first episode, and we will be very excited to share future topics with you coming up very soon.
Can't wait till you get Quinn on, ask him the hard questions, make sure he knows the scientific names of everything.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and get him to actually do some work. So, all right, guys, thanks again, and see you on the next one.
See ya.